It's my last day in Alaska, and so I'm not gonna be on here for too long. But I wanted to tell you all about this. I saw this video by a behavioral expert, a body language expert, about involving where he analyzed the whole slap between Chris Rock and Will Smith. And so this body language expert, his channel is called The Behavioral Arts, and the video is really good. And I highly recommend watching it. He really did a good job of breaking down the body language between Chris Rock and Will Smith. And I think he was responding to people that were asking, okay, is it fake? Is it not fake? And first thing I'll say is he said it's definitely not. He said in his opinion, he said it definitely isn't fake. He also talked about things that some of which I suspected, some of which I didn't suspect, but he was basically talking about Chris Rock's body language, Will Smith's body language, Jada's body language. And it was so fascinating. I mean, he talks about how Jada, he talked about even the way Jada was sitting at first, that she was sitting in a way where her neck was exposed and she was leaned back and kind of smiling and like enjoying the night. And he said when your neck is exposed, that means that you're comfortable, you feel okay being vulnerable. And then he said that at first the joke comes out and at first she doesn't react, then the joke registers. And he said, he talked about her body language shift and how she sat up straight. And then she did kind of an eye roll where he said that tells him that she was saying, oh no, not this again. Like, oh, here he goes again, right? That type of thing. And he broke down basically how her whole disposition shifted when Chris made the joke. And then he talks about Will Smith. He said, so Will is in the front row of the Oscars. You know, he knows the whole world is watching. He knows the camera's gonna hit his face. So he just laughs at the joke, just kind of laughing along. He said, then the joke registers. And he says that's the point where he said, so either one or two things happen. He said that, and he basically said that Will Smith's reaction showed him a genuine emotion. And he talked about little things like the crinkle of the lips, licking your lips, his facial expression, just all kinds of interesting stuff. It was really fascinating. So Will, basically, he said one or two things happened. Either one, the joke registered because the movie's 25 years old, G.I. Jane, and they didn't get it at first. Or two, he saw Jada's reaction, and that's what led him to get up and walk toward Chris. So he talks about Chris, and he gives Chris a lot of props for how he handled that. He said that Chris, you see him stomp forward. Like in his joke, he said he looked at other jokes and he said whenever Chris makes a punchline, he steps forward, right? And then he's kind of looking to see what's going on. So he says that his facial expression showed that he didn't really know exactly what was happening. And also the channel is called The Behavioral Arts, by the way. So he says that his facial expression is kind of like, he's a seasoned comedian who's done this 1,000 times. He's at the Oscars. And he said, you notice with a lot of Oscar actors on stage, they're kind of leaning forward and squinting because they can't see because the lights are really bright. So he's trying to see what's going on. And so Will Smith is walking up and he says that his first reaction, he says that his hands being behind his back shows that Chris had no idea that he was about to get slapped. Like he didn't think that this was even a possibility. He said because basically he called holding your hands behind your back to be what they call the regal stance. And regal is like the way royalty does. Like if royalty is walking by, Prince Charles or something, or like a military commander is walking by, or a principal walking through a hallway looking at the students. Like he said that regal's position where all of your organs, your vital organs are exposed. He said humans are the only animals where all of our vital organs are just right there for anybody to come get them. He said when you're standing like that, that's you being relaxed. That's you being in a position of authority. You know you're the boss. You're not worried about being attacked. And so he says that and then he talks about after the slap. And he says that basically in so many words, and you should go watch the video. The channel is called The Behavioral Arts, and the title of the video is Body Language Analyst Reacts to Will Smith, Chris Rock Slap. So you can feel free to look it up. But the interesting thing was he said that he talked about Chris Rock having a fast mind, and he said that he saw where Chris was not expecting to be slapped. He said for a minute, Chris balled up, like almost started balling up his fist, like he was going to respond. And he said that in that moment, he thinks Chris, because he's quick-witted, realized the implications of what he was going to do next. He knew everybody was watching. So he said he showed a ton of restraint. And the interesting thing was he talked about, so when Will Smith goes back to the table and he says that, Will had a little smirk on his face and stuff like that, he interpreted that to be satisfaction. Like, I did this, I defended my family, and he said also he believes it was like all raw emotion. He broke it down a bunch of different reasons why he doesn't feel like it was like, oh, I'm planning to go up on stage and make this happen. He said he doesn't think it was fake. He said that he believes it was raw emotion, and he thinks that Will Smith was probably regretful of doing what he did, right? So Chris Rock, he said, he gave Chris a lot of credit, and he said that Chris, because he's so quick-witted, he says something, and then Will Smith says, keep my wife's name out your effing mouth. And he talks about even the way he enunciated his words. He said, he stated his words like every single word is important. Keep my wife's name out your effing mouth, right? And he said that really showed, like, again, raw emotion. Like Will, and he talked about his the gloss over look in his eyes. He said Will wasn't looking around to see what other people were thinking. He was zoned in on Chris. And he said that showed that he was pissed. He was really mad, and he was making it clear, like, how mad I am. And he said, so Chris, what was interesting was he talked about, he said that he saw Chris in Chris's body language, like, okay, I want to like respond, like I'm going to hit this dude or whatever. And he said that Chris, because he's a professional, was able to realize, like, oh, wait a minute, I'm at the Oscars, I can't do that. And then he also said that Chris showed additional restraint because he said, look, Chris Rock is a seasoned comedian. He could have made a joke right there. Like, he could have kept it going. Like, he could have really, killed him with his words. And he said, so when Will Smith said, keep my wife's name out your effing mouth, and said it twice, he said, he talked about the way Chris said, okay, right? And he claims that him saying it like that means, okay, I know I could probably destroy you right now, but I'm going to back down. I'm not going to do anything, right? So that was really interesting. And then he said, he talked about when Chris said that this was the greatest night in Oscars history. He said, notice Chris didn't say this is, or television history. He didn't say, he said, notice Chris didn't say this is the greatest night in television history. He said, Chris said this was the greatest night in television history. And he said that shows that Chris, because he's strategically, kind of thinking, he's already ahead in the future. He's already looking back at the headlines. He's thinking about, how the media is going to react. And he's looking back at that moment from the future. And then he talks about Will's body language during his acceptance speech. And one thing that was interesting was he talked about how Will Smith, when he mentioned Denzel Washington, that he was recruiting. He said when he did that point where he said, thank you, D, and then he quoted Denzel Washington, he said that basically he called that recruiting. He said a lot of times when you do something that's polarizing, you'll subconsciously try to recruit people to your side. So he mentioned the two actresses that were in the movie. He mentioned Denzel Washington. And he said that shows that Will was basically trying to recruit people to basically say, D is on my side. Denzel is on my side. And also he said that, notice all the clicking. He said, you heard a lot of clicking. And he played the clips. Will's talking. It's like you hear little smacking, right? And he said that a lot of times when celebrities go on stage, if they're nervous, they'll lick their lips on the inside, so you really can't see it. He said that because Will's emotion was so raw, he was just, like kind of doing this lipping thing. He was sweating. He said that all this showed in his body language that this was 100% real and that he was really like kind of putting together the speech and stuff like that. And then also I read something from a body language expert that responded to the video, and the person said, she said, one, I watched King Richard the same night after the slap, and he said Smith's gait, like his face, was exactly that of Richard Williams. That literally, when he was walking up to Chris Rock, he said that his gait was just like Richard Williams. Like, that Richard Williams gait? Like, I'm gonna fuck you up, that type of thing. He said that literally he was being Richard Williams, like in that moment, or at least that's what the body language experts were kind of saying. He said also, he says, number two, a happening or what I would call staged is just that, rehearsed. He said after the slap, Rock was looking to see if the network had cut to a commercial and for guidance, something he wouldn't have done if it was rehearsed. So he said that Chris Rock was looking to the network to be like what, like, are we going to a commercial break? Like, what the hell just happened? And then they said three, He says, also, also, as you said, believe Smith didn't initially get the joke. G.I. Jane is a 25-year-old movie. In fact, even Jada had a moment when her eyes were figuring it out. And when she realized the reference, reacted how she said, as you said, my guess is the same thing happened to Smith off camera. So so one of the other things was that he talked about when Will said, I know that we have to take abuse. And he said that he pointed to the way Will, like his facial expression, he paused it. He said, look at the way he's spitting the word out. Like he said, abuse. We have to take abuse. Like he's disgusted. And he said something like, we have to take abuse. Or he said, no, he said, in what we do, you have to take abuse. So he claimed that by switching pronouns like that, right? Because he could have said, in what I do, I have to take abuse. He could have said, in what you do, you have to take abuse. In what we do, we have to take abuse. He said that Will did what they call pronoun switching, which is where you say, when what we do, you have to take abuse. So he claimed that that was Will kind of basically like referencing one particular incident, like kind of talking specifically about one person. He said that one person was Jada, right? And then what else does it say? It says number 4, and this is the most obvious thing, but doesn't involve body language. The network stayed muted far longer than it would have if planned, as if they were waiting to make certain nothing more would be said. 5, Lupita, sitting behind Smith, is also an incredibly well-trained actress, and her face said, oh, this is real. Number 6, as you mentioned, the screaming was pure rage, but I'd like to point out the repeated phrase, not a different one, said louder the second time as if to drive home a point. I see that as what I call a verbal strike, like a hammer or a nail, and on the second scream, he expelled the air in his lungs. When you do, which you do when you're fully enraged. Some people hyperventilate because of this. Your breakdown. So anyway, so that was what I saw with the body language expert. So basically, he said that that it was real and that Will's reactions, like on a primitive instinctual level, really showed that this was like raw emotion. And he talked about just different things that he saw that basically said that it wasn't like he was thinking it through. That literally everything he was doing was just kind of like in the moment, like I'm really pissed off right now. So anyway, that was just really interesting. I watched this video. The channel is called The Behavioral Arts, and y'all can watch the video. I'll share clips of it or put it on my Facebook page, so feel free to go take a look at it. But by the way, I'm gonna get out of here, guys. Anyway, don't forget that tonight we start our NFT masterclass in the Black Business School. So if you want to learn about NFTs, it's a really great industry. I'm going to be all up in there. Like that space is really massive right now from an investing standpoint. Just click the link in the bio and you can join us in class tonight. We start at 8 o'clock tonight. So I look forward to seeing you all soon. So I hope that this was helpful. I think this is really interesting. And my wife and I did an analysis of all this too. And, you know, she's a therapist. So she picked up on some of the stuff that the behavioral experts picked up on. But to see this guy talk about body language was really fascinating. So anyway, have a good day, everybody. God bless you, and I will see you all soon. Take care. Bye-bye.